Alrighty, we are talking again. Who knew? Who knew this was going to happen? I certainly didn't, but your response from my last video was encouraging, to say the least. Yeah, say the least. Alright, so what I want to talk about is something that I've actually always wanted to talk about, but I never did, actually, for all my videos. I have a little sheet where I have notes, where it says, like, video topics. And this one's been on there for, like, probably since last year, and I always skipped over it because I was like, nobody gives a shit. But I don't really have any other ideas for a video, and people said they wanted more videos, and I don't know if they'll like this one either. But anyways, you can see from the title, One-Trick Pony Decks. And what I mean by that is a deck that you're trying to do one specific thing. Usually a boss monster, but you keep trying to do this one specific thing. Like, technically, Exodia would be a one-trick pony deck. You're trying to do one thing, there's no other thing in the deck, and why I'm talking about them is don't fucking play them. Alright, so why I don't like them is because if you get fucked up, okay, there's no retaliation, usually, because it's a one-trick pony. You're trying to do one thing. Another thing for a one-trick pony in this, when nobody plays this, nobody even tries to do this, unless if you're like a really new player that played back in 2003, but like making Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, like, that's all your deck is trying to do. Like, it doesn't do anything else. You're just like, I'm trying to make Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. That's a one-trick pony. OTK decks are usually one-trick pony decks. Not always. Sometimes they can do other things and have other defensive, but like a deck that's like strictly trying to get an OTK, like 5-God Dragon OTK, or, what was that other one when the Dragon Rollers were still a thing? Where you discard amount of dragons and then its attack multiplies by the amount of stars or whatever. I forget what its monster. But that was an OTK, but not like a very complex one. It had one task. It had one thing to do, and they're awful. There's no reason to play them. There's no strategic value of it. It's something you can pull off, and you can do it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are decks that I've taught before that have only one option, and that's it. And I'm not talking like your simple, like, XYZ deck where every time you can make a... Or not XYZ deck. Every deck is a fucking XC deck anymore. But, like, you go and make, say, even though Exxon's banned, but, like, every time you make a deck, you make, like, whatever monster. It doesn't matter what it is. For an example, Battling Boxers, because it's off the top of my head, and I play them, it's like, yeah, every time I make Lead Yoke, but that's not my one-trick pony. I can do a bunch of other things. I can make other rank 4s. I can do other stuff. I have traps and defense, which, yeah, I guess other OTK decks and one-trick pony decks can have, but I can do other things. I'm not trying to just get this off. I can have defense, I can attack, there's other things I can do. I mean, one-trick pony is you are trying to make one thing, and your deck takes a lot to do that one thing. And hopefully it pays off for you, but it probably won't most of the time. The reason why I'm saying this is because I see players that are like, will complain that why is my deck so bad? Why is it so good? Well, you're trying to pull off one monster, and it doesn't always have to be an OTK. Sometimes people will make decks revolving around this one giant boss monster they have, and that's it. And they're like, man, my deck's not working out. What's the problem? Well, you're revolving around one fucking card. Your deck should be able to have all sorts of different strategies and stuff. Yes, that one card in your deck that you might want to play might be like the fucking best, but you should not revolve your deck around a single card because you're gonna get heffed real hard by everybody. Prison style. No regrets. Well, there might be regrets. It's usually a commonplace of new players to do this rather than more experienced players, because a new player will be like, oh shit, look at this card, dude. I can make this card. And it's fucking bananas. And then they get this card, whether it be a boss monster, and then they get solemned, or compulsed, or bottomless, or whatever the fuck there is right now to destroy a monster on its 7. And then they're like, oh. Because you're doing one thing. You got one trick, and then you threw it out, and your opponent had an answer. Because they didn't fall for your trick, or technically they did, but then they countered it. But you're not David Blaine, okay? There's other things you got to do to make your deck good. Now, pretty much every player knows this. But if you are new, revolving your deck around a single plan, and sometimes they don't even realize that they're doing that until someone tells them. And then they might even get offended. But, you know, it's just how it goes. Like, you gotta be able to play... Your deck should be well-balanced all around. It should be able to have answers to things. It should be able to defend itself. It should also have multiple moves. It shouldn't have a one-boss thing. Even with newer decks that actually come out with this, you shouldn't have a one-boss monster. It should be a couple. even if they are a little bit weaker, there should be multiple possibilities of what you're trying to do. There shouldn't be a one set go possibility. Like the fucking Cyber Dragon deck. I like it, it's fun, but it's pretty much you do this and you're there. And it is good, but it's not great because it is a thing where you're trying to do one fucking thing. Pretty much. Like, it can do other things like Cyber Twin Dragons, but it does one thing. Another example of this would be Quasar, but they can make other Synchrons and shit and other ranks and synchros, so it doesn't really equate, but it's still the same idea if you're getting what I mean. They're building a deck to try to make a giant monster. Like a deck that focuses on just Quasar. There are Synchron decks that, or other just Synchro decks that can make Quasar, but they're not focused on making Quasar. But as I ramble and I digress, make a deck all around. There's no reason to try to make it do only one thing, unless the deck only does one thing, and that way don't play it, or don't complain that you're losing when you're playing it. When I play a deck like that, I'm completely aware of what's going to happen to me. So, yeah, that's all I got. Well, like the video, I guess, and, man, see you on another one? That's probably what's going to happen. That'd be my guess. Who knows?